The markets are open.
People always ask, well, why should I bet on Monday? Because you have the perfect number in front of you.
And the numbers are moving.
We've seen this total go from 47 to 49, 49 and a half.
Now you're getting a field goal in a game that was sit and pick 'em for so long.
Let's dive into some Monday morning market moves on BetQL Daily, presented by BetMGM.
Look at the card, Sam. Georgia, Alabama. Like, whoa, really? Already? Let's do this. So the market is saying right now, BetMGM -1.5. There are some twos out there. So Georgia, the favorite, total of 49 in the hook. But we'll get to some of the movers here on this Monday morning. But yeah, when you have Georgia, Alabama, that's where you have to start.
No doubt. And I imagine this will close with Bama a very small home dog. Can't imagine it's going to get to 3 because there will be support waiting at 3. Now, some shops are up to 2. There's a 2.5. This opened 1.5. So already the early apple bites on Georgia, which makes sense. I mean, Georgia in my numbers, not that my numbers are always right, but Georgia, the number 1 team in the country. So I've got Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Ole Miss 4, Alabama 5. Tennessee, I've moved up to 6, finally. I was a little behind the 8 ball on that one. Penn State 7, Oregon 8, Miami 9, and then USC 10, which doesn't feel right. USC gets railroaded against Michigan, but that's a tough place to play. If Michigan plays at USC, I think that's a different result. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Georgia, Ohio State, Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama. Bama probably not getting enough credit for the home field, but there will be an appetite for Georgia. And it's also worth pointing out that both of these teams come in off the bye. So this is a spot where neither team has the extra rest. They both have the same amount of time to prepare. And usually in the regular season, when you gave Nick Saban an extra week to prepare, he killed you. But Nick Saban is now on game day picking games wrong. So this is the first real test for Kellen DeBoer. Can he out-scheme and out-prepare Kirby Smart at Georgia? We'll see. I don't know that I would bet that game, at least right now. The total kind of feels like a low total, doesn't it? At 50. I feel like there's going to be more points than 49.5, 50. But we got a couple days to figure that out. That's a great game in September.
Awesome.
You get Georgia, Alabama in September. Let's go.
Come on. Yeah. I mean, you talk about market. We're used to that being much later in the year. We're talking October, November game, but yeah, that's a phenomenal matchup. How about the other end of the power ranking spectrum? I saw this. I sent it over to you from Ben Fox. He reached out to Chris Andrews, a favorite of this show, and he said that Kent State is the lowest power ranked college football team in the past 30 years, according to his numbers. That's a guy that's been doing this forever. Last 30 years. That's how bad Kent State is. We were joking at the time, but also serious about taking Penn State -49 this past Saturday. And now Kent State is a 14-point home dog to Eastern Michigan.
So I do have Kent State at 134.
I dare you. I dare you.
No. Well, let's see. So they're at home. Let's
Yes.
see. I've got Eastern Michigan. Oh, I got to scroll up quite a bit off of the Kent State. I might have skipped past them here. But I've got Kent State at a 81.5. So almost 20 points below an average football team.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we go. Eastern Michigan, 92.5. Kent State, 81.5. So on a neutral, per my numbers, which again, I'm not an odds maker, but everything is weighted a different way. I think Eastern Michigan is 11 points better on a neutral. So if Kent State is at home, that number feels kind of big, doesn't it?
But like we were talking last week, what's that home field worth? If there are places that are worth nothing, right? There are places where it's worth nothing now. You've got to inflate Eastern Michigan because they're just going to fade Kent State. Until proven otherwise, they're just going to keep betting against Kent State. People that bet this game.
I might take Kent State now. I might do it.
Well, I think you'll get more than 14 just because.
See, things like that help, though. Chris Andrews tweeting that out and people
Mhm.
regurgitating that tweet, that will only
Yeah.
help you if you're trying to bet the very ugly Kent State side. It will not help you if you're trying to fade Kent State. Because again, I mean, this number, what's the number last week? Eastern Michigan, Kent State. It's probably closer to 10. Maybe it's even 8.5, 9. But
Exactly.
because they get absolutely railroaded again, and then, you get all the people tweeting about how bad they are, that takes all the value away from betting Kent State.
Mhm.
What's the money line price? No, I'm kidding. I
Oh,
can't
stop.
do it. Well, hey, how about after week 1? Temple's the worst team ever. Temple this, Temple that. Temple won yesterday or on Saturday. So you want to have these narratives about this team can't do this or this team can't do that. Carolina's going to go 0-17. I just want to bet against every narrative now until the end of time. I think I'd probably be ahead. I'd probably hit about 60% just betting against the public narrative, not the public bets, the public narrative. Whatever's on television Monday through Friday, this can't happen. This team
I
won't
get
do
you.
that. It
Yeah.
usually goes south. So, okay, Kent State's the worst team ever. Eastern Michigan blows. It doesn't mean that Eastern Michigan is going to roll Kent State. It just means that Kent State is really, 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 really bad. Both things can be true, Joe.
How about my Buffalo? Let's go.
Yeah.
Outright over NIU. Their
Did you make the
first
drive?
game. No, of course not. Their first
Oh,
game after taking down Notre Dame in South Bend, they get the week off, and the auto fade still ends up working. Buffalo in overtime takes down Northern Illinois. That I just reminded me because that was also a 2-touchdown spread. Same number, 14 points there. So
you
I
did
thought of
call
that
it. I
when
thought
you
for
said
sure
money
you
line.
were going to drive east on 80 and go bet
I'm
that
not.
live, but
I'm not driving anywhere to bet Maction. I just can't. I should have, but I did not. How about let's go Notre Dame, Louisville. They're betting Louisville. Interesting. Open 6. We're down to 4.5 at BetMGM. Number of spots posting 5. 48.5 is your total for Notre Dame hosting Louisville. Ooh, last year, this was rough for the Irish going there.
Notre Dame's actually not bad against power teams. When they start playing the MAC, things get weird. I don't know what it is. They play a Power
Marshall.
5 team. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean they beat Purdue 1,000,000-6, and then they struggle against the team they played last week. Barely put them away at the end. Not barely, but I mean let them hang around. Losing to Northern Illinois. Weird, just a weird team. They're just so up and down. It's hard to really get a peg on what Notre Dame really is. I'm
Yep.
curious where I've got Notre Dame right now in the country. 13th in the country, which is probably right. I mean, they were teetering around that top 10 number going into the season, and I've dropped them a little bit. Clearly not good enough to be a national championship contender. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like their quarterback at all. But they are betting Louisville, to your point. Another side that they're betting, and I know this will be probably one of the most popular sides of the entire weekend, is 193 Illinois. So the Illini going to Nebraska on Friday night. That was a very polarizing game amongst Illini people. Some people thought they were going to win. Others thought they were going to get dragged. This number opened Penn State 18. Opened 18, which is, purposely over 17. 17 is not a big key number, but it's a key number. 7, 14, 21 in college are the big key numbers. Your 10s, your 17s, your 24s are, I would call semi-big numbers. But they opened it just over 17, which is telling, correct? Well, they came in, bet 18, and BetMGM is now at 17. Penn State is a much better football team than Illinois. And if you're looking at an undefeated team catching 17, the line basically tells a story in itself, does it not?
Yeah, for sure. This is BetQL Daily. Joe Ostrowski, Sam Panayotovich. We do this every Monday. Take a look at the college football market. We'll do the same thing with the NFL coming up in a few minutes. This one might be a little difficult to talk about, but we've got to get there. Talk about a big move on UCF. Opened as an 11-point favorite over the Colorado Buffaloes. It is now painted 14 everywhere. 14.
Wow.
Yeah. Big move there.
14.5 at a couple shops too. So they're going to keep laying it. And understand, this is a 3-point move less than 24 hours after the open, because this opened at 2 o'clock Eastern on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
To move 3 points in 18 hours is crazy. And as I always say, that's not Marge Simpson betting the game. That is a lot of professional money to already knock it through the 14 at several shops. MGM still 14. Total coming down. How does Colorado move the ball? They could barely move it against Baylor, and Central Florida is much better. So this is a spot too, and I think a lot of teams like Central Florida and a lot of coaches like Gus Malzahn are fed up with Colorado. Like last year, Oregon, Dan Lanning, Colorado this, Colorado that. He ran it up on them in the entire first half, and then he took the foot off the gas in the second half because they were already up 40 points. Teams that have a chance to get Dion and kick him while he's down are going to do that. So I think that's sort of built into the handicap too. Central Florida, much better than Colorado. Very good defensive line. Going to get to the quarterback. Colorado's O-line already a problem. Colorado's also very small at the skill position guys. Their receivers are all like 5'11" for the most part. Central Florida's got a really talented, really bigger roster. So I'd be curious to see if Colorado can cover that. I lean no out of the gate, and the market clearly agrees. Market is saying this one's going to be a runaway.
You mentioned 24 hours. That was an immediate move yesterday because I was taking a look at some of the larger point spreads for Survivor. I was just looking at the college numbers, the bigger ones, and seeing, all right, what are some possible plays? I did pick UCF already with one of my selections. So, but that was immediate because yesterday during the NFL games, it was 14. So those things were gone. Those 11s, 12s, 13s, gone immediately. So this is after Colorado. Yes, kind of miraculous win, overtime. Baylor, we talked about that earlier. Also, their last road game, kind of a rivalry situation in state against Colorado State and some of the noise that was going on last year. So it does kind of feel like, okay, it's time. It's time for them to go down again, going on the road in this spot.